You're listening to the 168th edition of the Bitachon podcast, and we're studying together the passuk in Tehillim, chapter 40, verse 5. Ashrei hagever asher sam Hashem Hishtadlus II. Praiseworthy is the man who places Hashem as his trust, and does not turn to human beings who involve themselves in all kinds of false plans. I'd like to read to you again from the Malbim as an introduction to the rest of what we're going to read today. The last thing that we read was the Malbim. Ashrei oisher hagever hu sam Hashem Hishtadlus II. The person who has true worldly joy is the one who makes Hashem the one that he trusts. Because sometimes a person will trust in Hashem, that Hashem will save me through particular means, particular natural means. This person, even though it's true that he trusts in Hashem, but that's not called that Hashem is his trust, that Hashem is the one upon whom he completely relies. Because there's a mixture here. I want to trust in you, Hashem, but I want it to be my way. I want it to come through the means that I choose. He's trusting in Hashem, and by the way, this is a good level for most of us. Halavai, including myself, halavai that I should have the level of Bitachon that I trust in Hashem, that He's going to give me what I need through the efforts that I do, right? But the Malbim is teaching us, and we're going to see it's the level of Yosef at Tzaddik, that there's a higher level. And that higher level is that instead of placing my trust in Hashem, that Hashem will send me what I need through the efforts that I do, that's called, when I trust in Hashem that He's going to send me the thing that I need through the efforts that I have put in. So it's called that the miftach, the thing that I'm depending on is not Hashem. The thing that I'm depending on is that Hishtadlus. Hashem is not the one upon whom I am relying 100% and absolutely. So the Malbim says there's a higher level, and we've studied this together, and this is the level of the Madrigas Adam. It's not the same if somebody does not put in any effort at all. He makes Hashem not just the one who he trusts, but he also makes Hashem the one upon whom he completely relies. Hashem, you can choose your way, whatever you want, how to save me, however you want to give me my salvation. I don't want, Hashem, I don't want a natural type of help. I want a supernatural. I don't want it to come through human beings who it's involved in a human being. What's involved with trusting upon him is all kinds of falsehoods and tricks and ways of succeeding. This is how you succeed. Read Dale Carnegie's book. You'll find out how to succeed, how to win friends and influence people. No. And I'm thinking as I'm reading this, it's about a relationship with Hashem. It's about, why would I want to trust in Him completely? Hashem, you do it all. It has to be a nace. It has to be a nace. We don't depend on nisim. We don't depend on miracles. So according to what we saw in previous weeks, as long as I believe that the miracle is no different than teva, than nature, we're good, right? I believe it was the Brisker Rav said that. As long as as long as I have the proper outlook, it's not called a nace. It's not called a miracle. But it's about a relationship with Hashem. It's about, am I completely connected to you, Hashem? Am I completely connected to you, my God? Or are there other things that I'm connected to? Are there other things that I'm depending on? So ideally, the Malbim is telling us, the ideal is that I just put my faith in Hashem. And the example of this is Yosef at Tzaddik. And it's a very interesting example. Yosef is in jail. He's been in jail for 10 years. And these two guys come in, and he's able to interpret their dreams. And one of them is going to go back to being the second in command to Paro himself. Okay, not a commander, but he has Paro's ear. This is Yosef's opportunity to say, get me out of here. Tell Paro to get me out of here. The only person who can give him who can sanction his leaving from the jail is Paro himself. But Yosef says to him, remember me, don't forget me, mention me to Paro. So the Medrash tells us, and it's a famous Medrash, Rashi says, interesting, the Medrash says, praise, and it needs understanding, praiseworthy is the one who places his trust on Hashem. That's Yosef Atzadik. Yosef was the Baal Bitachon. But don't turn towards human beings, towards empty human beings. He said this double language, and we're going to see it's not clear if it has to do with the fact that he said it twice, therefore he had 2 years, or he should have waited another 2 days before he said anything. But Yosef is called a Baal Bitachon. And yet Yosef makes a mistake of putting in too much Hishtadlus. He puts in too much efforts. And as a result of that, the result that he wishes for is delayed by 2 years. Let's see this, because this is a very important and intense topic here in the story of Bitachon. Yosef, do we get punished? We get punished if I do Hishtadlus, the sin of Hishtadlus? Is Hishtadlus a sin? Is it something I get punished for? That's what it sounds like from Yosef. It says the Beis Halevi. The efforts that Yosef put in when he said to the Sar Mashkim, please remember me, mention me. It's the smallest possible type of effort that we could imagine. He just said 2 words to him. Please remember me. I was put here for an unjust cause, for an unjust reason. He just said a few words. He just spoke. He misspoke. Think about it. Think of it from Yosef's perspective. It's so clear. He's been there for 10 years, and all of a sudden, here's the moment of salvation. These guys are obviously his ticket out. These are his ticket out, as my Rosh Hashiva says. I heard Rabbi Perez Zechon of the Rocha recently listening to Bitachon Shirim, and he talks about this topic as well. He said it's his ticket out. Yosef haven the kol mashahuva sar mashin lebeis sarbachein kol chaloim urak kedesh mizeh tismach gulu Yosef. The whole reason that these guys came here, the whole reason that they had these dreams, and as Rosh Hashiva says, the whole reason this guy's going to die and this guy's going to live, is to show that Yosef has the ability to interpret dreams, both for good and for bad. Some people can only give good interpretations for dreams. Some people can only give negative interpretations. Yosef can do both. It's so obvious to Yosef, his intuition is lighting up. These guys are my ticket out. So if we see that Yosef is also punished for this, he explains the stira. The Medrash first says that he was a tremendous Baal Bitachon. And then the Medrash says he didn't have enough Bitachon, that's why he's punished. So what's the vor? What's the idea? He was on such a high level of Bitachon, says the Beis Halevi. If you're on a higher level of Bitachon, and you can be on a higher level of Bitachon, when you lower yourself, when you put in effort, but you don't need the efforts, it's considered a sin. Hishtadlus, not for everybody, obviously. For most of us, Hishtadlus is not a sin. But if you could have Bitachon and you don't have Bitachon, what a loss. What a tremendous spiritual loss if you could be on the level of Bitachon where everything just comes to you without any efforts and Hashem does miracles for you. If you could be on a level and you're not, and you choose a lower way, a lower path, think about it. If Yosef is punished that he's left in jail for 2 years, he could have come out of jail in 2 days. If he would have had Bitachon and not said anything, if he wouldn't have put in extra Hishtadlus, he would have just trusted, Hashem is doing this. Obviously, Hashem's going to go all the way. Hashem can bring these guys here. What do I need to say? If he would have thought that way instead, so it would have worked out much better. He wouldn't have been there for another 2 years. But we understand, says the Beis Halevi, from the punishment. He's there for 2 years now, 2 years longer to learn to be mechaper for, to atone, or to learn the lesson, perhaps. Can you imagine the level he was on? If to just say one little line would cause such a punishment. Obviously, he was on a tremendous level of bitachon in the jail. This is what our sages say, that he was a person who placed Hashem, who Hashem was his miftach. Ze Yosef, that he did make the mistake of speaking to this guy to ask for human aid. Yosef had to be very careful. A Baal Bitachon has to be careful. It's considered a sin for a Baal Bitachon, someone who is on the level of Bitachon. It's a sin for him to put in Hishtadlus, even to say a little word. And just mention me to Paro. Don't help out. If you're on the level of Bitachon where Hashem helps you, don't help out Hashem. It's not necessary. It's a mistake. It's a sin. Here he brings the Rei Shefer of Rabbi Shlomo Kluger. What was the sin? He says, there were 3 days. He says a little bit of a different understanding of it, or another angle of it. There were 3 days until the Sarah Mashkin was going to leave. Yosef shouldn't have said anything at that moment. He should have waited. He had 3 days until the Sarah Mashkin, the cupbearer of Pharaoh, was going to leave. What he explains the dream. He interprets the dream, and then he immediately jumps at him and says, "Remember me. You're going to get out of here. Remember me." Why does he have to be so quick to say that? He should have waited until he was leaving. He was too anxious. He was too involved in the Hishtadlus, according to this. I think according to Beis Halevi, it was a mistake for him to do anything at all. But according to Rabbi Shlomo Kluger, obviously, each person explains it on their level. The Alter of the Varek also has his explanation of this story. The Alter of the Varek says that the mistake was that he said it doubly. He said, Zachor is Kartani. He said it the double language. He said it twice. The mistake the first time, okay, we'll let you get away with it. But when you make it a second time, the Alter of the Varek understands, you're already showing that it's not a mistake. This is your way. But according to the Reb Shlomo Kluger, so he shouldn't have said it so quickly. He shouldn't have been over enthusiastic about saying something to him. Even though saying it 3 days later may not have had the impact, Hashem can bring him the salvation from another place. Meaning, you think, Yosef, that by saying to him, "Remember me" to Paro, that's how you're going to get out. It's not even going to look like that in the end. Interesting. He says, I have 2 points here. The first point is what he says, that each day, he should have waited 2 more days before saying anything. So each day that he said it early, he was punished with a year. And we find that also by the Meraglim. They looked through the land of Israel for 40 days. They came back with a negative report. They said, we're not going to be able to do it. We're not going to be able to get into the land of Israel. And as a result of that, they were punished for each day of their spying in Israel. They were punished with a year in the Midbar, in the wilderness. 40 years corresponding to 40 days. Also there was a lack of bitachon, a lack of trust in Hashem. What Hashem can't do it. Yosef, why do you need to say something to the Sarah Mashkin? What, Hashem can't do it? And of course, Hashem does do it 2 years later. Not because Yosef said to him, "Remember me," but because he had a skill that Paro would be able to benefit from, which was someone who interprets dreams. Right? He didn't even come out of there with this pathetic story. I was stolen from my family. I'm a miskin. He came out as a winner. I mentioned this before, but he came out as a winner. All right, last point here, and it's from the Akadama L'Nintchei Yisrael, which I believe is the Chavetz Chaim. He says like this, Echad paga b'poyel shu aseh v'shalei al zeh. Listen to this mashal. One time a person met a worker, and he looked sad. Let's say Reuben and Shimon. Reuben has a business. Shimon is a worker. So Reuben meets Shimon, and he sees that Shimon is looking a little sad. Vashivai. He said, "Why are you so sad?" He answered, "Ki zeh like kama yamim shu ohelech batal b'lei malacha." So he says, the worker says, "I don't have any work for a few days." He said, "Look, I pay well. You can come and work for me for 3 months, and I'll give you a job." So the worker said, "Look, can you take me on permanently? Meaning it's only for 3 months, or is it something that you can take on, from now on?" So he said, "No, I only need a worker for 3 months." And he said, "No, I can't take a short job. I can't take a short-term job." He said, "Look, the guy who usually hires me and consistently hires me, right now doesn't need me, but I know that it's likely that at some point he will need me again. If I'm working for you for the next 3 months, and then this guy finds he's looking for workers and I'm not available, so he'll take somebody else. When I finish the time I'm working for you, he'll say to me, 'Where were you before?' I'll lose him as an employer forever." I prefer not to take the 3 months that you're offering me and then end up without work at some point, which I know is going to be more of a long-term type of job. So I'd rather take the loss right now and not have anything. So that I can end up working for the person who's constantly been giving me work to do and has been helping me pay my bills. Says the Nitchei Yisrael, Kain mamish binyanenu. Gives us an amazing idea that this story is a true story, but it's also a mashal. It also gives us an analogy. When it comes to Bitachon, God is like the one who gives a person his constant parnasa. Not like, but it's like this one in the story. Hashem is the one who gives us our parnasa. He's the one we can always turn to. He created us. Hashem is always giving us our needs every single day. Sometimes we do something wrong, we sin, and we lose our merit, and we lose our connection to Hashem, and therefore we lose our parnasa. There are times when we don't have what we don't. It doesn't seem like we're getting what we need. So what does a person do? So what happens when a person is missing his needs? So Yitzhar comes and says, "I've got a plan for you right now. You don't have any money? I'll help you get it in a sly way," says the Yitzhar, the evil inclination. If you listen to me, says the Yitzhar, I'm going to help you out. You're going to get what you need. Okay, it might not be on the up and up. It might not be in an honest way. It might be too much Hishtadlus. It might be, but don't worry, I'll take care of you now. So a person needs to tell his heart, to tell his Yitzhara. Even if it's true, this is the answer. The Nitchei Yisrael gives us the answer to Yitzhar. It's true, I might succeed with you for a period of time, for a few months, maybe even for a few years. What about when my time is up in this world? 120 years have passed. I go up to the heavenly court. Yitzhar is not going to be able to guarantee you that he's going to help you there. If anything, it's going to be opposite. I'm going to have to get, when we get to Olam Haba, and I want to have a nice future, literally, and a nitzkias, my eternity, I want a nice eternity. Hashem's going to say to me, why are you coming to me now when it's tough? When you're stuck? Yitzhar can't help you anymore? If I'm your king, if I'm a king, if I'm someone who can help you, why didn't you come to me before? Right, so what do we see from here? We see from here that when it comes to the Atzas HaYetzer, and obviously it depends on who we are and what our circumstances. Sometimes for a Yosef at Tzaddik, if someone on a very high level of Bitachon, the Yitzhar says, do a little Hishtadlus. That's a mistake. It's a mistake. For us, regular people, so the Yitzhar says, do it a little sly. Do it a little ba'akifin around the back. Do what you need to do. I'll take care of you. It's going to work out good because... But no, the reply that we must say to the Yitzhar is, if it's not working out now, it's because of my sins. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Baal HaBayis. Hashem is the one who's in charge of the world. Hashem is the one who provides for me, who has provided for me. And if something's not working out right now, I can find an explanation for it. But let me go back. Let me continue to return every day to Hashem, to the one who has provided for me until now. Let me try to do tshuva. Let me try to fix myself, fix my ways. But always come back to Hashem, because ultimately, no one else is going to help me. Only Hashem is going to help me. Thank you so much for listening. See you again next time.